is a place that is spoken about only in whispers. A dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends. A place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view. But when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Along with me, as always, co-host, producer, and board monkey Tim Dennis. Good evening, Tim.
What up, yo?
Hey, we want to thank Ghost Radio Australia, who has added us to their lineup. So for those of you down under, thank you very much for tuning in and checking out the Darkness on the Edge of Town radio show. For people that are interested, it is an awesome 24/7 paranormal website that you can actually go to. They've got all types of different radio shows available, so you can tune in anytime. Check it out. There'll also be archives of the show there. You can go to ghostradiox.com, and that is Ghost Radio Australia. We want to thank them very much for adding us. Also want to talk to everybody real quickly about the trip that we're going to be doing here with the TAPS people. We've got Paula, and we've got Steve from TAPS that are going to be doing a ghost hunt with us the first weekend in June. And it's really working out really nicely. We opened up the event last week on Monday, and so far we've sold out over 37 spots. So we are still looking for more, but because we have filled 30 of the spots, we're going to do a drawing right now live. We're going to go through the names of the people that have paid. We're going to draw your name out, and if your name is drawn and you call in within 15 minutes, that means that you get a refund on your trip, and you can, or on the admission price, I should say, to attend with us, and you'll be able to attend for free. So I'm going to dig through the box here. Tim's got them all cut up for us nicely. Let me go down deep into the bottom of the box here, Tim. What do we got? Tom West. You are the winner. So, Tom, if you're listening, give us a call at 612-375-1400. Is that correct, Tim? 1400?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal.
Yep.
Again, that's 612-375-1400. If you can call us within the next 15 minutes, you get your money refunded and you'll get to attend, and your admission is free. If you don't call, we're going to be doing another drawing later on for somebody else that was listening to the show live. Exactly. Now, remember, for those of you that are just tuning in and would like more information about this, you can go to our website at darknessradio.com. And right on the homepage, there's a big link that says The Trip. Just click on it and you can find out about it. It's Darkness Radio is hosting it along with TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society. Steve Gonzalez and Paula Donovan will be on hand with us for the weekend. And you get to actually attend a lecture with Keith and Carl, the Johnson boys. They are the demonologist twins from the TAPS TV, or from the Ghost Hunters TV show. They're going to talk to us about demonology, about paranormal investigating, and the famous Rhode Island vampire lore. You'll also get to hang out with Steve and Paula that night for some questions. On Saturday, we're going to go out. We're going to all get to go see the TAPS office and get to take pictures inside and get a really nice little look. Then for dinner that night, we're going to all get together at Bugaboo Creek Steakhouse, and that is right downtown Warwick, right next to the hotel that we're going to be staying at as well. You're going to be able to attend with us at that. You'll get to sit down at a table. We're going to try to break up so that all the different TAPS members can sit at the bigger tables, give everybody a chance to get to meet you. And then we're going to go back to the haunted hotel where we're going to do an investigation that night. And the hotel is the Fairfield Inn by Marriott in Warwick. So we do have a special deal. Once you've signed up, you'll be getting a confirmation email from me with a special confirmation code. So when you call to book your arrangements, you need to give them that special confirmation code in order to get in with the rooms that we're booking and get the special deal that they've arranged. We're going to also have drawings there so you can win Season 1 on DVD, a subscription to TAPS Paramag, TAPS Paramag t-shirts, TAPS t-shirts, and other great autographed TAPS merchandise. We do have still, we want to go to about 60 people on there, so we've got about 23, 24 spots still open, and Robin is signaling me. Tom West is on the phone. Tom, congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in. We're glad that you're able to be a part of this, and we'll look forward to meeting you out there at the event. Now, going back, as I mentioned, once you've signed up for this, we will be sending out a confirmation and get it taken care of for you. Thank you very much for the people that have already joined us. You can make a payment through PayPal. You can also send in checks or money orders. There's an address there. But right now, we're going to get into this evening's show. This evening's show promises to be fantastic. Our first guest we have up is Colm Kelleher, and he is a research scientist and author. He received his PhD at Trinity College in Dublin, and he has 21 years worth of experience in the biochemistry field. In addition, he was an administrator for a Nevada aerospace company, which was Space Sciences Incorporated, and also the deputy administrator of NIDS, where he led the investigation at Skinwalker Ranch. He currently works in the biotechnology sector, and he's on hand this evening with us to talk to us about the Skinwalker Ranch. And to give a little background, in the mid-1990s, a cattle ranching family moved to an isolated ranch in northeast Utah, and they wanted to just lead a nice, quiet life there. They ended up being terrorized by a series of seemingly unrelated and totally unexplainable events. They were unable to control the powerful forces invading their lives, and the family sold the ranch to a Las Vegas billionaire who funded a team of senior research scientists to investigate the phenomena going on there. And the accounts of encounters have been everything from flying objects, mutilated cattle, disembodied voices, teleported objects, strange lights, invincible creatures. It's absolutely crazy, all the things that have occurred at this location in Utah. This book was written, it's called Hunt for the Skinwalker, and it was written by Colm Kelleher, who was a PhD, as I mentioned, an acclaimed investigative journalist, and also George Knapp. And Hunt for the Skinwalker is a true story of what really happened at the Skinwalker Ranch. You can get it, Colm, I believe you can get it anywhere, right? Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, any of the major bookstores?
Yes, good evening, Dave. You can catch it in any bookstore, and it's easily purchased online through Amazon.com.
Great, and if you do check out our website at darknessradio.com and click on the show tab, you can see a picture of our guest, and there's a copy of the book underneath it. If you click on that book, it'll take you to, I believe, Amazon or Barnes & Noble, where you can order the book for yourself. So let's get into this a little bit now. Colm, you had the opportunity. Can you tell us a little bit about NIDS so we know what you did when you were a deputy administrator for them, and what was NIDS?
Well, NIDS was the acronym for the National Institute for Discovery Science, which was formed by Robert Bigelow, who is, as you mentioned, a billionaire businessman. He's also the CEO of an aerospace company in Las Vegas, Nevada. In late 1995, he decided to put up a lot of money to fund the creation of this organization, and he hired a bunch of mainstream PhD-level scientists from all over the scientific spectrum to come together in Las Vegas and form the nucleus of this institute. So I was one of the people he hired in mid-1996. But in addition to the staff scientists who were, fully mainstream scientists, fully funded, he also created a science advisory board comprised of physicists, chemists, biologists, psychologists, computer science people right across the map, engineers, forensic people. And the aim of the National Institute for Discovery Science was to apply the latest in science and also the most up-to-date police methodology, the best we could possibly do with forensic science, to come really up against the paranormal cases, UFO cases, cattle mutilation cases, but specifically from a scientific point of view. And the reason this hadn't been done very often before, was because financing has always been a big issue in the paranormal field. Not too much money was available. Well, Robert Bigelow, being a billionaire, provided large amounts of money, essentially unlimited money, unlimited funding, and unlimited resources in order to create the National Institute for Discovery Science.
So he brought in all of these experts. So, I mean, that was what was so amazing to me. I mean, you've heard of the crazy billionaires out there like Howard Hughes kind of started losing it at the end and had such crazy thoughts and stuff going on. But this guy has an actual interest in the science and interest in the paranormal. So being able to lock in with him and getting all of these experts from all these different fields together. When they approached you about being a part of this, were you skeptical? Did you think, oh, this is just a waste of money or time, but I'll do it? Or how did you approach this?
Well, I've always had an interest in scientific anomalies, and when I first saw the ad for they were hiring research managers, I was working as a research immunologist at the National Jewish Center in Denver for immunology, and the wording on the ad in Science magazine, which is probably one of the preeminent magazines around, it said that they were looking for research managers to study the origin and evolution of consciousness in the universe. I mean, when else would you ever see an ad like that in Science magazine? So instantly, because I had always had an interest in anomalies, researching anomalies, I answered the ad, and sort of one thing led to another, and I got hired. But I never got the impression the organization was anything but professional. It was professionally run. It was run according to business, standard business operation model, and it was not flaky in any way. All of the people who were hired were all mainstream scientists. And, the advantage of having the Science Advisory Board was that if ever there were any physical traces that were left from any of the cases that we investigated, we could absolutely go to the wall in terms of investigating and going to the best labs in the country, including government labs, government-funded labs, to get the best technology and the best that money could buy in order to do the full analysis, because chemical analysis, biological analysis is certainly not cheap. So again, the funding that went into the National Institute for Discovery Science was extremely important.
So it sounds like CSI Utah going on out there, huh?
Yeah, that was actually pretty close.
Now, you said that you had an interest in anomalies and this type of thing. Had there been something that occurred to you in your life prior to this that got you involved, or were you just interested in it from a spectator point of view?
Well, I've had a long-standing interest in the idea that science can study anomalies as a way of opening doors to the discovery process. I mean, science moves forward essentially by the discovery process, and it can move forward either slowly or, in big leaps. Now, studying anomalies, in my way of thinking, has always been one of these high-risk, high-payoff situations. So, previous to working at the National Institute for Discovery Science, I've had a long-standing interest in biological consequences of, for example, altered states, how that affects the immune system, how that affects human physiology. So my interest didn't start with NIDS. It actually was quite a bit before that.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be right back. Our special guest this evening is Colm Kelleher, and he is one of the authors of Hunt for the Skinwalker, which is a fascinating book. We'll be back to discuss a little bit more about the Skinwalker Ranch and the amazing anomalies that took place there right after this.
I am Greenblock 6, and when I am in your galaxy, I listen to Dave and Tim on the Darkness on the Edge of Town.
This is Dave Schrader from the Darkness on the Edge of Town radio show. Each week, we delve into the web of the unknown and deal with a lot of scary subjects. But nothing makes my blood run colder or scares me more than dealing with technology. That's why we turned to the experts when we wanted our website for the show set up and maintained. In the studio with me is Don Raleigh, owner of Evolve Systems. Don and his exceptional staff were easy to work with and made setting up our site a breeze. Don, what is it that sets you apart from other web developers?
Well, Dave, we make your business visions come to life by creating, maintaining, and hosting all of your internet needs. We do this by listening to our clients. We offer programs and price plans to fit any budget. And Dave, I mean any budget. Call us at 651-628-4000 and put us to work for you.
Call Don at Evolve Systems, 651-628-4000. I did, and I couldn't be happier with the results.
That's because we take the out of technology, Dave. Call us today at 651-628-4000 or visit us on the web at www.evolve-systems.com, serving the entire United States. That's Evolve Systems, helping you to manage change. Cheers.
If you read Taps Mag every month, you'll be able to tell the difference between the absurd.
Could not go to work because Bigfoot stole my car.
And the creepy. Taps Paramag takes you where few would ever go on purpose. From exclusive interviews with the cast of The Ghost Hunters to the latest trends in technology, the field of the paranormal. To join our journey, order at tapsparamag.com.
If you bleed from the ears while listening to Leo Sayer records, would it qualify as a paranormal experience? I thought so. Welcome back to the darkness on the edge of town. Ooh, that hurts.
Good evening and welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town radio show. Our guest this evening is Colm Kelleher. He is a research scientist and author. He has a fascinating, fantastic book out there called Hunt for the Skinwalker. I had the opportunity to pick this book up a couple weeks ago and read through it. And now that we've got him on the phone, we're going to talk to him a little bit about the anomalies that took place on this ranch. Now, Colm, if you could tell us when the original family that owned this ranch, they began having these events take place how quickly after they took possession of the ownership?
It was almost immediately. It was around the end of 1994 when they took possession of the ranch. And actually, the first time that they pulled their truck into the yard with their first batch of furniture, they were just unloading the furniture from the van and the small items before the larger items. When they saw, about 300 yards away, they saw this wolf approaching. And, you know, the family were experienced hunters. Tom Gorman was the rancher. He had his dad with him to help with the move. And they watched this animal approaching, and the closer it got, the bigger it got. I mean, this was no ordinary wolf. This was at least twice, maybe even 3 times the size of a wolf. And it seemed to be moving in a very tame way. It was not in any way hostile. Or it was friendly, if anything. So it ran right up to the family, and the Gormans had just unloaded 3 of their prize calves in the nearby corral. So this animal was standing there, sort of very casual. The dad, Gorman, actually petted the animal, and it smelled like a dog. It felt like a dog. Suddenly, the animal just lunged across and grabbed the calf, one of the new calves in the corral, by the snout, and was trying to drag the poor calf through the bars of the corral. Tom Gorman grabbed the baseball bat that was on the back of the truck and started beating on the back of this huge animal, because he felt this calf probably had a couple of minutes to live. But the animal did nothing, so he told his son to grab a Colt Magnum from the truck. He shot the wolf from point-blank range, like a couple of feet, twice, and the animal finally let go of the calf, but just stood looking at Tom and the family. At this stage, the family were really freaking out, because this animal should have been dead. This wolf should have been lying dead with 2 shots from a Colt Magnum. So Tom told his son to run in and get his .30-06 hunting rifle, and immediately he trained the rifle on the animal. He shot the wolf from again less than 10 yards. And this guy is a trained marksman. He's a hunter, and the wolf, again, should have been knocked dead. These rifles will bring down an elk from a couple of 100 yards. But the wolf showed barely any reaction, except it began to back off. And then
now, were the bullets penetrating the pelt at all?
Yes. The second shot, actually, from the exit wound of the shot, a lump of flesh exited from the animal and lay on the grass, but not even a yelp from the wolf. And this was like multiple shots. The animal should have been bleeding, lying dead, but again, it looked very, very casual, just slowly began to back off. And then Tom shot the animal a 3rd time with his .30-06. So this was getting more than weird. This was getting really spooky. This should not have been happening. It was something out of a science fiction movie. And slowly after the 3rd shot, the wolf turned on its heel and slowly trotted across the field. Tom and his son, grabbed the rifle and the Colt Magnum and ran after it. And it went into an area of thick brush and then exited. They tracked it, exited near a body of water where there was kind of a sandy soil. And the last they saw of it was the prints that the animal had made. It was a very, very heavy animal in the sand, suddenly ended close to where the water was. But there was no possibility the animal could have jumped into the water. It was like the prints just vanished. But this was the opening of dozens and dozens of weird incidents, and it, you know, the first weird thing that happened actually happened as they were moving onto the property, and they saw these large wolves occasionally in the distance in the 3 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, and they even talked to one of their neighbors as a part of the welcome, the new family on board. The neighbors actually told them that they had seen a herd of large wolves on their property. So the family was not hallucinating. This was not something that only they had seen. But 3 weeks or 4 weeks after this wolf incident, the animals just seemed to disappear. The Gorman family never saw those animals again. But that was the opening incident in what was to become a very, very frightening 20 months on that property.
Now, with this, I mean, it almost sounds like you're describing a werewolf, impervious to regular bullets and just keeps doing what it's doing. It's larger than normal.
Yeah, well, the really strange thing about this was, number one, the size of the animal was 2 to 3 times larger than any wolf that the Gorman family had ever seen. And the second thing was that the piece of flesh that exited from the wolf on the second or third shot from the hunting rifle was lying on the ground, so I went over and picked it up, and it smelled like very old, decayed, rotten flesh, as if the animal had been dead for over a week, and this was not the case. Obviously, the animal was perfectly alive. So there was a couple of very, very weird, bizarre things about the wolf and that shooting incident, but they could never explain it, and they were busy. They were trying to get settled into their new ranch, and everybody thought the ranch was an idyllic spot, except for this very weird incident. But slowly they began to forget about it.
Now, with this event, I mean, Skinwalker, according to the Native Americans, that means people that can change or transform their appearance from human to animal or etheric forms. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's an old Navajo and Ute. You could call it a legend, or you could call it whatever you want, about the idea of very advanced black magic medicine men or women who had the ability to take on the shape of an animal, transform themselves into an animal using extremely powerful black magic rituals and that kind of thing. Now, by coincidence, the ranch is in the middle of a Ute reservation, Native American reservation up in northeastern Utah.
Now, with this too, going forward, I mean, this is the things that occur here. I mean, this is like a paranormal paradise. There's
Grand Central Station.
Right, exactly. You've got werewolf type activity. You've got ghost like activity. You've got UFO type activity. You've got the blue orb activity. You've got an actual doorway that seems to open up in the sky that almost appears to be a portal or a doorway to another dimension or a wormhole from one part of the world to the other.
Yes, it was one of those spots that was like a paranormal laboratory, and that's why the National Institute for Discovery Science in summer of 1996 leapt at the chance to purchase this property as a paranormal laboratory, because the events that this family described, as you mentioned, everything from disembodied, discarnate voices, poltergeist activity, haunting. They saw these ghost-like figures all over the place. But at the same time, they saw a lot of nuts and bolts hardware, like flying objects, unidentified flying objects that looked very, very like nuts and bolts, metal craft. Sometimes they were flying silently a couple of feet above the ground on their property. Sometimes they were hovering over their cars as they drove into the property.
But now, in defense
like
of
silver discs,
right,
like the famous UFO phenomena that people were reporting in the 1950s. So there was a huge variety of different phenomena that were happening on this property. And, of course, on top of everything, the Gorman family were in the ranching business, and they brought about 85 of their top-notch Black Angus, Black Simmental show. These were show animals. They were registered, the best artificially inseminated purebred animals onto the property. Within the 20-month period, they had lost 14 of those animals to cattle mutilations. They were carved up on the property. They were vanished. They were missing. And essentially the family went into financial ruin because 14 animals out of 85 is just an unacceptable rate of attrition for any ranching operation.
But now, if I can go back with these flying crafts that you see over the property, isn't there a Air Force base or something right around that area anyway?
Well, Hill Air Force Base is pretty well the closest, which is just outside Salt Lake City. It's about 120, 130 miles to the west of the ranch. But yes, I mean, it's definitely pretty close. But the kind of technology that these craft or whatever they were, these flying objects on the property were exhibiting were unlike anything that the Air Force has acknowledged. Now, whether or not there was military, sort of military playing with toys in a remote area in Utah, but we were never in a position to fully rule that out. But there was one occasion when Tom Gorman, on a very, very cold night in February of 1995, had been out on the property trying to find what on earth was going on with all of this weird stuff. So what he used to do was to sneak out at night with his video camera to see if he could catch anything, and with his gun. And it had been snowing because it was February, and it was like -20. It was extremely cold. So he was just finishing a night of trying to creep up on these lights that seemed to appear and disappear on the property, when over to his right he saw silhouetted against the snow a black, it looked like a smaller version of the F-117 fighter, bomber, that the United States Air Force flies. But the weird thing about it was that it was absolutely silent. It was hovering about 6 feet above the pasture on the snow, and it seemed to be quartering the snow as if it was looking for something. There was like these bright-colored disco-type lights that were dancing around in the snow underneath this flying object, and the night was completely silent. There wasn't even the faintest sound of a motor or an engine. It was completely silent. The object was just slowly moving above the ground, about 6 feet above the ground.
Now, reading the book, though, as you guys discuss this, when you take over the ranch, he stayed on as kind of a ranch hand, kind of a guide for you guys
ranch manager,
at this ranch. Now, the interesting thing as I read it is, it seemed like the events that began once you guys took over only took place when he was there. So did that start to throw up a flag to you that maybe this guy was just blowing smoke at you?
Well, there was, at the very beginning, that certainly was the case. But during the summer of 1996, as the events began to unfold, and especially in 1997, the summer of 1997, there were multiple incidents that the scientists, there was 3 scientists and a number of investigators that were basically living on this property full-time with a bunch of equipment, measurement equipment that would measure everything from electric fields, magnetic fields, alpha, beta, gamma, X-ray, radiation, microwaves, night vision binoculars, video cameras, infrared film, spectrometers. I mean, we had the best equipment, so we were pretty well living on this property. So there was multiple incidents that happened during the summer of 1997 that the Gorman family were not present for. So, what you said was certainly the case in the beginning of late 1996, etc. But as 1997 moved on, there were multiple events that were Gorman free, and that was definitely an issue of credibility at the very beginning, because naturally one of the first hypotheses that any scientific organization would investigate would be the hoax possibility. And, we went through an awful lot of the, investigating to see whether or not the family could be hoaxing. Was there a financial motive? Was there, there was no financial motive. The family lost a lot of money on the property. The family had no interest and still has no interest in going public about these events on the property. They were, if anything, they wanted to just forget about that. Once they moved off the property, they just wanted to forget about it. So there was no sort of publicity seeking. There was no attempt at any financial gain. So,
so that definitely helped to validate for you that there wasn't an ulterior motive for this investigation.
Absolutely.
For people just tuning in, our guest this evening is Colm Kelleher. He's a PhD, he's an author, and the book that we're discussing is called Hunt for the Skinwalker, which is an amazing book, fantastic tales. We're covering kind of the beginnings of what occurred to the family that owned this, and then when NIDS took over. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, but when we come back, I want to start hearing some more of the events that you were actually there on site to see and have occur. And we do have some questions from people on our bulletin board as well, so we'll get to those right after this.
Adopting aliens and giving them good homes since 1953. Just don't tell our landlord.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
It's Dave and Tim shacking up in the darkness on the edge of town.
Hi, I'm Rick Martinek.
And I'm Edgic Brad.
And together we are the Expo Guys, inviting you to attend the Healthy Life Expo this Wednesday, May 3rd from 3 to 9 p.m. at the Metropolitan Event Center in Golden Valley. See it all at expoguys.com.
Come see over 6 unique exhibitors and enjoy free non-stop seminars, demonstrations, and fun entertainment. See Dr. Marilyn Mason of the popular Dr. Marilyn Mason radio show. Visit with Darren Vigil of Healthy Exposure and see blueprints of the healthy home of the future. Relax and enjoy live music and a free buffet.
Find natural and holistic resources all under one roof to look your best, feel your best, and be your best.
The Healthy Life Expo has everything from A to Z for better health and happiness.
It's all this Wednesday, May 3rd at the Metropolitan Event Center, located just off I-394 on the Eximia Park Place exit.
Tons of prizes, drawings, and giveaways with prize drawings every hour.
Take it from us, the Expo Guys. Free passes and a map are available on our website at expoguys.com.
2006 is here, and for many of you, another year has passed without treating you and your loved ones to a much-needed getaway. Rocky Shores Resort has just what you're looking for. Join owners Jerry and Kim Pipp at their family-themed resort that offers a heated outdoor swimming pool, volleyball court, playground, spacious lodge with games and activities for the whole family and more. With 6 2- and 3-bedroom cabins that are affordable, comfortable, and fully furnished, and 12 seasonal RV sites, Rocky Shores Resorts is perfect for a private escape or for a family reunion. The resorts are located on the east shores of Bowstring Lake in the heart of the Chippewa National Forest. Here you can relax and enjoy nature in the Great North Woods, experience dozens of area attractions, and get hooked on some of the best northern perch, panfish, bass, and walleye fishing in northern Minnesota. Call 1-866-878-0101 to book reservations or check out their website at rockyshoresresort.com for more information. This year, don't ignore the call of the wild. Embrace it and enjoy yourselves. That number again is 1-866-878-0101. Rocky Shores Resort is open year-round. Call today.
If you read Taps Mag every month, you'll be able to tell the difference between the absurd
Could not go to work because Bigfoot stole my car.
and the creepy. Taps Mag takes you where few would ever go on purpose. From exclusive interviews with the cast of The Ghost Hunters to the latest trends in technology, the field of the paranormal. To join our journey, order at tapsparamag.com.
When Dave was a young boy, he once awoke to find himself staring directly into the eyes of a shadow person. Turns out it was just his life-size cardboard cutout of Donny Osmond. Welcome back to the darkness on the edge of town.
Good evening and welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town Paranormal Radio Show. Our guest this evening is author Colm Kelleher, and he's talking to us about his book that is called Hunt for the Skinwalker, which took place in Utah when he was what was the term, the deputy director?
I was the deputy administrator for for National Institute for Discovery Science.
Now, before the break, we were talking about all of the things that occurred to the family that originally owned this ranch in Utah. Then once NIDS took over, you said that things actually started picking up for you. Now I've had a couple questions on the board here as we're going through the show. I'd like to ask you. First off, they were wondering, was there any testing done on the piece of wolf that was knocked off? My guess is no, because at that time it was so earlier on and they didn't even consider.
That's right. I mean,
begging.
The family, this was almost 2 years before NIDS got involved, and this family they were not into scientific testing. They were more into moving on to this new property that they had just purchased. So they just basically forgot about the incident within a few weeks to a month.
Now, the other question we have is that once you took over and you started doing these investigations and you saw these different anomalies take place, you said that there was some ghost paranormal activities, things like that. Were you ever trying to get electronic voice phenomena, and did you, and was it able to communicate with you?
We never actually picked up EVP on this property, but there was a lot of indications to the Gorman family that some form of discarnate voices that might have been in that category were certainly reported by the family. We never actually picked up anything in the EVP range. We were more focused at the time on the physical sciences and on measuring magnetic field disturbances, measuring anything in the microwave range. We had a portable spectrometer actually that was hooked up to a laptop in the field, where you could actually try to capture real-time spectrum of these lights. The idea being that if you know what the elements that went into making the lights, that you could actually deduce something about the technology involved. Because we were looking at this as more of a technology rather than just phenomena.
Now, while you were doing the investigations with this, you came across, there were even Bigfoot-type anomalies that took place here, correct? Do you have a feeling that this was truly a portal from other dimensions that's open there at this location?
Well, one of the things that points in that direction was that before the NIDS organization arrived, on a very regular basis, these large orange objects used to position themselves above a very old homestead that had been abandoned since the 1920s on the property. And the Gorman family used to report this on a regular basis. The NIDS organization obviously were on the watch for this whatever it was, but it never appeared when we started tracking this thing. But the Gorman family on several occasions were looking at this object, whatever it was, with scope, like rifle scope, using amplification. And on a couple of occasions, they reported seeing what looked like a different sky on the other side of this orange object in the sky. And on one occasion, this fast-flying object that looked like a small triangular craft actually came from the quote-unquote other side into this side, from an area of lightened sky into the darkness of the ranch. So there was a lot of speculation, a lot of thought process went into the idea that there was some kind of a dimensional doorway operating. There was also the disappearance. Even once NIDS moved onto the property, we also had a working ranch involved here. We had 70 or 80 animals on the property at any one time. And
now, were you actually trying to run it then, or were you using that as bait more?
Well, we were using them as bait.
Okay.
But over the period that we were on the property, we lost approximately 15 animals on the property. They just vanished into thin air. And this was a property that was under 7/24 surveillance. There was multiple surveillance cameras around the property. There's really no possibility that people could have come on to the property at night or otherwise to steal these animals. These animals essentially vanished off the property, and we could never track them, we could never trace them. And this was the same phenomenon that the Gorman family, which had lost 14 animals previous to our arrival, had reported. So in the short period of time between them and us, like 30 animals disappeared or were killed or mutilated on that property.
While you were doing all this and all these things were happening while you were there investigating, were you ever afraid for your life? Were you ever afraid something was out there coming for you guys?
Well, there were so many different things that were happening, we never knew what to expect next. It was not like the same thing happened, on a regular basis. We were exposed to so many different things. It was just, it was like nothing was replicated, which, as scientists, what you want to do when you're tracking something in a quote-unquote laboratory of the paranormal, you're trying to get stuff that's repeated, you're trying to get stuff that shows patterns of activity. We saw nothing like this at all, but there was just one occasion when myself and this other investigator, was during the daytime, we were in this densely wooded area, and we were tracking these very strange footprints that had appeared in the ground. And on one occasion, both he and I independently had a very powerful sensing that we were being watched. There was a very strong smell in the area too, a very rotten, sort of overpowering stench in the air. At the same time, I had this feeling that there was something very, very close to me. I could not see whatever that was. I kept looking around. It was a densely wooded area, but nothing ever appeared. And independently, when we debriefed after this whole thing, this other investigator that was about 100 yards to my left reported exactly the same thing happening to him at around the same time that it happened to me. That was really the only time on the property that I felt, there was a definite feeling of being watched.
Sure. Now, Belle from the boards is asking, she'd like to know did you basically just compile information and report it, or what is your theory on what was actually taking place there?
Well, what we were trying to do was to gather data in a laboratory, and we had all of the instruments at our disposal. The bottom line was to get as much data as possible, and every 3 months we made these presentations to the Science Advisory Board that flew into Las Vegas for these occasions. We would have 3-day, round the table sort of brainstorming sessions. So, yeah, the idea in terms of the field operation was to gather as much data as we possibly could. We weren't into sort of, getting our pet theories proved or disproven at that stage. All we were interested in doing was gathering data, and we were completely open to anything that might have popped out of that. As it happens, there was never enough physical evidence to completely rule out, for example, that there was some kind of military arcane technology being tested. There was never enough evidence to rule out, quote unquote, various paranormal phenomena. We tried to rule out natural explanations like earth lights and that kind of thing.
And natural gas leaks, I would guess, too. You're checking for all of that to make sure that there's no hallucinations.
We checked for hallucinogens in the property. We checked for wind-borne hallucinogens. We checked for, magnetic field anomalies. We did aeromagnetic surveys. We checked electric fields. And we were never able to come down firmly on any one possibility that would explain all of this weirdness, because usually when people focus on this kind of thing, a team of people will investigate a UFO sighting, or a team of people will investigate cattle mutilation, or they will investigate some kind of poltergeist phenomena. We were just being barraged with all of the above that seemed to be happening on this particular property for no apparent reason. And incidentally, this was not an isolated property. This particular area in northeastern Utah had a long and well-documented history of UFO activity and all kinds of Bigfoot, Sasquatch activity stretching back all the way to the 1950s. We were really fortunate to meet a retired science teacher from the local area who took it upon himself, beginning in 1951, to start documenting the local reports of these phenomena. And he had accumulated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of extremely high quality sightings of various flying objects. And this was not distant lights in the sky. This was close-up, personal, really in-your-face stuff. So
since the 50s?
Since, he started work in 1951 as a high school teacher in the local area. So when he began, he started collecting these reports because they were already ongoing. So this ranch was in the middle of the Uinta Basin. It was in the middle of this area that had been exposed to these phenomena for the previous 50 years. So this was not an isolated, an isolated thing that nobody knew about. The locals had seen and heard all sorts of weird stuff. The local Ute Native American tribe had also reported, going back generations, all kinds of weird stuff in the area.
When you're looking into all of these facts and you're able to track it going back in history like that, do you get a sense that to me it just sounds crazy. It sounds like there's a magnet. It's got to be some kind of, if it's not some interdimensional transportation, place for them to all come into, it's got to be some kind of magnetic field or some kind of something that's going on to distort people's perceptions.
Well, we don't know if it was distorting people's perceptions or if something was happening as a result of altered space-time, some kind of strange anomalies in physics. I mean, we even measured gravitational anomalies in the area to see if there was anything that was obvious. If anything, the area around the ranch had extremely low magnetic field intensities, but there were about 6 or 7 different occasions when we were tracking phenomena on the ranch with our equipment that we did notice spikes in magnetic field activity that seemed to be associated with these paranormal phenomena. For example, on one occasion there were 4 2,000-pound bulls in this corral that was on the property, and these were prize animals. I mean, they're worth thousands and thousands of dollars. The ranch manager, we were on our way up to the ranch actually at the time when this happened from Las Vegas, and the ranch manager and his wife went down to the west end of the property. As they passed the animals, they noticed the four bulls in the corral. 45 minutes later, on their return, they noticed that the corral was empty, and they freaked out because these were extremely valuable animals.
Right.
So the corral was totally empty. They searched the area. They couldn't find anything. There was a small, isolated white trailer in the corner, far away from the corral, that they looked into just sort of in desperation more than anything else. And the 4 animals were crammed into this tiny
right,
trailer.
I remember that.
There's no way you could persuade bulls to voluntarily get into a tiny cramped space like that. But the bottom line was that when the team arrived, the first thing we did was we tracked all the usual magnetic field, electric field phenomena around the corrals, and it turned out there was a large, intense spike of magnetic field activity around the bars of that corral. The iron bars were extremely highly magnetized, and they remained so for hours after this incident, and then they went back to the baseline.
If I could ask, we've only got a few minutes left on this. We had a couple of gentlemen on, Rich Oliver and Matt Groen, a couple of weeks ago, who had some experiences on a ranch right next to the Skinwalker Ranch. Real quickly, they were able to actually go in for hypnotherapy to recount things that occurred there that blew them away once they heard the recordings. Have you ever done that to investigate to see if things happened to you and the team, or at least specifically yourself? And are they still doing investigations at the ranch?
Well, the first question is no, we've never gone into the hypnotherapy arena. There was so much stuff that was that was happening in the real time physical.
Sure. But are you interested in doing that now at this point in your life to try to find out if things occurred that you don't even recall?
One of the problems with hypnotherapy is that unless they're extremely well credentialed clinical psychology or clinically approved people, it's very, very difficult to separate suggestion from what actually happened. So one of the red flags in investigating that whole arena in terms of hypnotherapy is that it's very difficult to distinguish between suggestion and memory. That's the first thing. The second thing is, in terms of activity happening on the property, the National Institute for Discovery Science still owns the property, and it is still being under surveillance, 7/24. There's surveillance cameras. There's people actually on the property 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So, and there is activity ongoing on the property.
Well, great. I can't thank you enough for joining us this evening, Mr. Kelleher. It's been fascinating. I really enjoyed the book. I recommend to people to pick up a book. We're going to get a couple copies that they're going to send us from the publisher. I'd like to get those copies out to a couple of the people that had posted questions on the board while we were doing the show here. I'd love to have you on in the future if we can, because I know that you've got a couple other really fascinating stories and a couple other books out there, especially one about mad cow disease I'd really like to speak with you about and help shed a little light.
I'd love to.
Well, that's fantastic. I like I said, I can't thank you enough. We'll look forward to having you back on. Everybody, please check your book, either your libraries, your bookstores, local, online. You can click the link at our website. The name of the book is Hunt for the Skinwalker, and the authors are Colm spelled C-O-L-M, A. Kelleher, Ph.D., and George Knapp, K-N-A-P-P. It's a fantastic book. It's a great read. Once you pick it up, you will not be able to put it down. It'll definitely grab you. Appreciate you being on with us tonight, Mr. Kelleher, and please stay tuned with us. We've got a great show still coming up for you, and a whole nother hour of The Darkness on the Edge of Town.